We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Kathleen, would you be willing to sing "May We Shine a Light of Love" for us?
Sure. May we shine a light of love. May we shine a light of love. With every thought, with every step we take, may we shine a light of love. May we shine a light of hope. May we shine a light of hope. With every thought, with every step we take, may we shine a light of hope.
Thank you. So Chelsea is gone for another week. I believe she'll be back with us next week. So I get to do the time for all ages. And I've changed the order around. If anybody's looking at the order of service, it's a little bit different. So just let's go with it. So this is a story that I'm sure many of us have heard before. It is the story of Chicken Little. And there are many iterations of it, but this is the one that I kind of liked for today. Chicken Little likes to walk in the woods. She likes to look at the trees. She likes to smell the flowers. She likes to listen to the birds singing. One day, while she is walking, an acorn falls from a tree and hits the top of her little head. Oh my, the sky is falling. I must run and tell the lion about it, says Chicken Little, and begins to run. She runs and runs, and by the time she meets the hen, "Where are you going?" asked the hen. "Oh, Henny Penny, the sky is falling and I am going to the lion to tell him about it." "How do you know it?" asked Henny Penny. "It hit me on the head, so I know it must be so," says Chicken Little. "Let me go with you," says Henny Penny. "Run, run." So the two run and run until they meet Ducky Lucky. "The sky is falling," says Henny Penny. "We are going to the lion to tell him about it." "How do you know that?" says Ducky Lucky. "It hit Chicken Little on the head," says Henny Penny. "May I come with you?" says Ducky Lucky. "Come," says Henny Penny. So all three of them run on and on until they meet Foxy Loxy. "Where are you going?" asked Foxy Loxy. "The sky is falling and we're going to tell the lion about it," says Ducky Lucky. "Do you know where he lives?" asks the fox. "I don't," says Chicken Little. "I don't," says Henny Penny. "I don't," says Ducky Lucky. "I do," says Foxy Loxy. "Come with me and I can show you the way." He walks on and on until he comes to his den. "Come right in," says Foxy Loxy. They all go in, but they never come out again. Our centering words this morning: learn to be quiet in the midst of turmoil. For quietness is the end of strife, and this is the journey to peace. A Course in Miracles. Let us sing together, "Find a Stillness."
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, I will find true harmony.
As we take this time to reflect on all of the wonderful things in our lives, taking this moment of gratitude to acknowledge all the good that is, even in the midst of chaos. Let us just take a few minutes. These words are also from A Course in Miracles. Truth is, it can neither be lost, nor sought, nor found. It is there, wherever you are, being within you. Yet, it can be recognized or unrecognized, real or false to you. If you hide it, it becomes unreal to you because you hid it and surrounded it with fear. There is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. Our special music this morning comes from Paul.
One, two, three, four. We go trudging down this hard road of life, stumbling, bumbling, reeling, so lonely sometimes. There is an answer, it's not time to give up. There is a power here when we share our love. Together we can climb a mountain we can climb. Together we can build a bridge across the great divide. Together we can find a path to the other side. Together we can. Together we can. Together we can. Together we can. You are the one I know can help me survive. These tears and broken dreams seem to fill up my eyes. You are the open heart I've been looking for. Strong and willing hand, open the door. Together we can hold each other when it's time to cry. Together we can light a candle on the darkest night. Together we can find the moon like the clouds pass by. Together we can. Together we can. Together we can. Together we can. And then we can feel the power without all the start. All
So there is a lot of noise in the world right now. There are a lot of chicken littles running around, and there are a number of foxy loxies taking advantage of the chicken littles. And in the story I shared today, as this particular version was written, I realized we're missing a key character. We're missing the character who quietly and calmly helps his friends slow down, look around, assess the situation, and then think it through and realize that everything will be okay. It's been a long time since I read the original version, so I'm not sure if the original version contains that particular character. But my question for all of us today as we get started is, right now at this point in time, which character are you? Are you Chicken Little? Are you her friends getting swept up in the drama and the drama in the world in this form of pandemic, protests, injustice, and corruption? Are you the fox happily taking advantage of the chaos? Or are you the missing character? The missing wise person willing to take in the evidence, assess the situation, connect with your inner compass, and make a decision based on that. Where are you today? And it's okay to be honest, because you're only being honest with yourself right now. I know that I certainly have played each one of these roles in the past few months. I'm hoping maybe not the fox, but I know there have been times that I've been Chicken Little and I've been each one of her friends. And I was looking at previous sermons as I was thinking about what I wanted to say today. And on March 8th, I began my sermon about wisdom, quoting this Facebook meme that said, "Just a warning, this week is starting by changing the clocks, has a full moon, and ends with Friday the 13th. Good luck, people." And 4 months later, who could have predicted how well that particular post would age? And in fact, that was the last Sunday I was in the pulpit with all of you physically present with me. What a ride that post predicted, huh? And now here we are 4 months later. And last night I was rereading that sermon that I wrote and offered on March 8th about wisdom. But I read it through these new eyes of the last 4 months, through post-COVID, quarantine, protests, riots, eyes. And I was wondering, did what I say 4 months ago, does it still have relevance today? Last week, we took the time to look at some of the wisdom of prophets and mystics throughout the past 2,000 years. I want us to continue that thread just a little bit today, because as I said earlier, this particular Chicken Little story is missing a main character. So how do we become that missing wise character in our family, in this community, in our country that the world needs right now? This is what I invite us to reflect on today. And as I talk, I invite each of you to take the time to reflect on where you are in your own life. I have included some of the things I wrote about wisdom back in March. Even though some of you may have been in the sanctuary with me when I shared this the first time, I think it's timely for us to take the time to reflect on some of this again. The definition of wisdom that I have come up with for myself is wisdom is knowing something on the deepest level and then having the discernment to know what to do with it. Bridging the gap between fear, intellect, and true inner knowing. I also like what Ann Wilson Schaaf says in her book, Living in Process. She writes, wisdom is knowledge that has been tested with time and has the pattern of ages upon it. My teacher, Dimitri, at the Spiritual Arts Institute says, until a thought becomes a living truth, it is not wisdom. He asks us regularly, how well are you taking a spiritual truth and making it a part of your life in the activity of your life? He says wisdom is earned experience. It becomes part of the eternal aspect of your soul. Become the embodiment, expression of that truth. In my sermon back in March, I shared 2 scenes from classic movies, one from Forrest Gump and one from Good Will Hunting. I want to take the time to revisit them again. In Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks' character Forrest was grieving. He didn't know what to do, so one day he simply put on his shoes and started running. And he kept running. He ran for a total of about 3 years, back and forth across the country. People took notice, and then some people started running with him. Before long, he was on the news and had a huge following. People were lining the roads as he ran by. News trucks were following him. Hundreds of people started running with him, and still he ran. One day, he just stopped and turned around. Everybody was waiting for him to say something. Everybody got silent, waiting for this wise master to finally say something. He said something to the effect of, I'm going home now. And he turned and walked away. But what were the people expecting to hear? They were expecting to hear words of wisdom. They had decided that he had it figured out. They had projected this wisdom onto him. They deemed him wise. But why? What were they hoping for? What was it about Forrest's behavior that deemed him wise? Maybe that he didn't talk? He didn't say a word for 3 years. What does that say about the noise the rest of us make with our mouths? Maybe because it appeared that he had a purpose. He knew where he was going, or at least he appeared to know where he was going. Is that why it was so easy for other people to follow? He didn't care what other people were thinking or doing. Perhaps it appeared that he was in tune with his true inner north. So why are we so willing to drop everything in our lives to follow somebody who appears to know? Why don't we trust our own inner north, our own sense of direction and wisdom and peace? How many times have you encountered the saying, when the student is ready, the master speaks? Do you know why that is true? The door opens inward. The master is everywhere, but the student has to open his mind to hear the master's voice. That quote was from Robert Anton Wilson. It's so easy to ignore that silent, wise voice inside us and give our power over to somebody else, anybody else, who appears to have figured it out for themselves. Forrest didn't have it figured out. He just knew that at that moment in time, what he wanted to do was run. So he ran. He didn't analyze, he didn't plan, he didn't strategize. He just started running. And somehow, the rest of the world deemed that wise. They recognized a truth, a wisdom in his simple actions. And if you think about it, it really is simple, and yet we tend to spend our lives complicating things. And I know I've shared this before, but I used to read all the time. When I would get stressed out, I would hop in the car and drive to the bookstore. And one day, as I was driving, this voice popped into my head and it said, "Wendy, what is one more book going to do for you? What are you looking for? What you are looking for is not in another book. You have read all the books you need. Now you have to start living it." The very clear message I received that day was that if I wanted to truly grow spiritually, it was time to actually integrate the knowledge into my life and have it become part of my lived experience. And I turned around and I didn't go back into the bookstore for about 10 years. And during that time, I got married, I had children, I got ordained, I got cancer, and I experienced my life without the books. And then about 2 years ago, the books started making their way back into my life. New books with new aha, life-changing paradigms that were ready to make their way into my life again because I was ready for them. But I was ready for them because I took the time to integrate and live into the wisdom and the knowledge of the first round of books. In the class that we took called Our Spiritual Ascent, Dimitri, the teacher, said, "I may know that I need to be more patient, but it may take me 20 years to become a patient person. And that 20 years is 20 years well spent." I want to say that again, and I want us to really think about that. I may know that I need to be more patient, but it may take me 20 years to become a patient person. And that 20 years is well spent. Because the unfolding of life is not a race. It is about experience, it is about integration, it is about becoming what we are working on becoming. I also shared in last March's newsletter and in the sermon that I was talking about, this monologue from the movie Good Will Hunting, when Robin Williams' character, who is a psychiatrist, is trying to break through to an angry young genius. And they're outside sitting there one day, and his character is talking to Will, and he says, "So, if I asked you about art, you'd probably give me the skinny on every art book ever written. Michelangelo, you know a lot about him, his life's work, political aspirations, him and the Pope, sexual orientation, the whole works, right? But I bet you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. You've never actually stood there and looked up at that beautiful ceiling. You're a tough kid. I ask you about war, you'd probably throw Shakespeare at me, right? Once more into the breach, dear friends. But you've never been near one. You've never held your best friend's head in your lap and watched him gasp his last breath, looking to you for help. And if I asked you about love, you could probably quote me a sonnet. But you've never looked at a woman and been totally vulnerable, known someone could level you with her eyes, feeling like God put an angel on earth just for you, who could rescue you from the depths of hell. And you wouldn't know what it's like to be her angel and to have that love for her, to be there forever, through anything, through cancer. You wouldn't know about sitting up in a hospital room for 2 months, holding her hand because the doctors could see in your eyes that the term visiting hours don't apply to you. You don't know about real loss because that only occurs when you love something more than you love yourself. I doubt you've ever dared to love anybody that much. I look at you. I don't see an intelligent, confident man. I see a cocky, scared kid. But you're a genius, Will. No one denies that. No one could possibly understand the depths of you. But you presume to know everything about me because you saw a painting of mine and you ripped my life apart. You're an orphan, right? Do you think I'd know the first thing about how hard your life has been, how you feel, who you are because I read Oliver Twist? Does that encapsulate you? Personally, I don't care about all that because you know what? I can't learn anything from you I can't read in some book. Unless you want to talk about you, who you are. And I'm fascinated. I'm in. But you don't want to do that, do you, sport? You're terrified of what you might say. Your move, Chief. These last 4 months have put us all through the ringer. And it's not over yet. As we learned just this morning with Laurel, we are literally still in the midst of this pandemic, racial justice unrest, in our face corruption of political leaders, and literally one of the most important elections in our lives and the lives of our children coming up in just 4 months on the other side. It really can feel overwhelming, as if the sky is falling. But it's not. The world might be spinning. It definitely is doing that for many of us. But the sky is not falling. What we need to do is realize that we do not have to spin with the world. We can stop our own spinning and simply allow the world to spin around us. When we can stop our own spiraling out of control, we can become the missing character in today's story. It takes awareness, it takes practice, it takes role models, but we can do this. And one way we do this is to slow ourselves down. So I want us now to close our eyes and do some deep breathing, or sing along if that is the way you ground yourself as we practice. If even for a few minutes, becoming the calm within our own storms as we experience together the meditation on breathing.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.